This woman is so insightful I came across on TikTok. She shares her 2 cents about the son-husband epidemic, coming from a standpoint where she is an actual mother. I'm going to reel the video in right here and let you guys hear it.
It's Mama T. Attention all mothers with son husbands. I'm going to let that sink in. There is no special relationship other than like a mother-son relationship. It's so special. But as parents, you know what our job is? It's to get our children to the next level of life. And mama, the graduation for your son should not be to your husband. It's out of order. You're going to have to know that he has a right to create his nuclear family, which includes his own wife and children. It's the wife's turn. You're always going to be super important in his life, but it is not his responsibility to provide you the necessities of your life.
We decenter toxic men, not because we hate them. We women have to be on guard and look for narcissistic mother abuse, mama boys. A lot of these people are toxic, and yet as women, we have to submit ourselves. Decenter is a movement made for women's survival. We don't want to be lonely, but it is darn better than tolerating a toxic son husband. So now everyone's going to die alone. Let's let Mama T finish what she's got to say.
If he loves you, and I'm sure he does, he'll help you from time to time. But his wife should be number one in his life. And you should pull back so that you can be available for his advice and counsel. Son husbands. It's an injustice to him, Mom, because the mental burden that comes with trying to be your husband and his wife's husband is a conflict of interest.
Men and women are reared differently in the household. Immediately, girls' individuality is snatched from them because they're trained and reared to take care of other people. Boys are raised to have as many women and options as possible. Boys nowadays think they're the prize. Women, on the other hand, are being far more masculine. And the problem is, we're trying to meet up and have this covenant under God and say, hey, we're going to be one. We're going to come together and be one. But your son has no coping mechanisms. In fact, he sits on his phone all day and looks at porn. What do you think that does to his brain? And now for us women to have to submit our whole lives, they can't even control how they handle their pain. They can't control anything. Because mama doesn't require it. She needs a husband. She can't be a mother. She needs a husband. So she can't discipline and tell him, no, don't do that. Because she's looking to him for validation, becoming what she needs and what she lacks. This is the epidemic of the son husband. The conflict of interest is that people keep coming together thinking you're going to change this guy, and we don't even open our eyes as women and realize these men don't even have a clue what we want. They don't care. They're focused on themselves. They've decentered women from the test of time. This is nothing new to men. They go out and conquer countries. They get on these boats, listen to the old timers talk about mountain men and cowboys. They were living on their own. No women were coming along. It was too dangerous. Men were sleeping outside, setting up tents in the early 1800s, late 1900s. They weren't building homes and putting their families in them. They were going and fighting with the Indians. So men are already trained to not be emotional. And so we come together trying to have a family in the modern day, and we fail to have the glue that we needed back then to keep us together, which was women's suffrage, not being able to own property, not being able to have money. The moment you get married, now your money belongs to your husband. Your husband buys you with a dowry. So the family benefits back then, but in modern day, we don't benefit when we date. In fact, studies show that women tend to become poorer when they marry. Why is that? The average man doesn't make that much money. Under $40,000 a year. And we're talking about the entire country. That 1% is rare. It's something you see on TV, but yet the world is trained to think that they're so high value because mom places so much value on a little boy. You're the man of the house now. Being told that at 13 years old is scary. That boy can't even control himself. He's peeing on himself. And you're telling him he's the man of the house? But to them, it's an ego boost immediately into childhood. They see that their mom, an older woman, the woman who birthed them, is looking to them. They get reinforcement from this patriarchy that tells them men run the world. Women are ours for the taking. This isn't a bitter spew, but this is knowledge. Stop thinking that everyone's looking for romance. That only exists in our heads. And as women, we've got to decenter people, decenter our emotions to recognize the facade. This is the modern world. You can't trust anybody. Your blood, it doesn't matter how long you've known somebody. Anybody will take anybody out at a moment's notice.
What I'm trying to say in a nutshell, Mom, is let him go. Allow your son to have his nuclear family or his life in general without necessarily being responsible for your life. And as always, I'm Mama T, and I'll help you if you let me.
Most women can relate to this in their household upbringing. They seen their mother treat their boys differently than they treat their girls. And this is a bias because there's usually only one parent in the household. And so with her turning these sons into son husbands, it creates imbalance. We go out into the dating world and we start looking for our parents and each other, and the guys are looking for a mom who's going to take their crap, not tell them what to do, pick up after them, not teach them coping mechanisms, not get on their butt if they find out that they did something wrong, but let the girl do something wrong. Mama's going to be down her throat. Women are too short when it comes to their daughter because their daughter is their image of them and, quite frankly, younger and more competitive versions of themselves. So every time mom takes a look at her daughter, she tends to feel... Now we're talking about toxic motherhood now. We're not talking about motherhood in general. Healthy mothers want to promote their children so they can have the best future, the best outcome, reproduce and be fruitful. But modern people are more toxic, and we're recognizing this because the households lack balance. There's only one parent raising them. Back in the day, you had two-parent households. It was a better chance for the daughter to get a fair chance because she wasn't always competing for mom's love. She had dad. Dad was giving her affection and balancing out mom's over-affection to the boys. This is a natural process, but the imbalance is when there's 72+% Black and brown households raised by single mothers. Often single mothers don't have a male figure to go to for support. Motherhood is draining. She needs someone to fill her cup, to validate her. And if she goes out into the dating world, these toxic podcasts, these red pills, are telling women you're worthless after 30 years old. If you have a kid, it doesn't matter the circumstance or if the guy cheated, you're still, quote unquote, damaged goods. And men will treat these women as exiles. They'll kick them out of the dating pool, and then they'll center all their attention around younger women. And that's what these mothers tend to take their anger out on. Instead of doing the inner work, recognizing the devil's work, who comes to steal, kill, and destroy, okay, we need to stop pedestalizing our young sons and teach them how to lead, teach them how to get healthy sources of validation, not going to porn sites, not playing video games all day. That's why there's so much crime and violence against young women, particularly underage people who can't speak up for themselves. Because women are often projected as objects to people. Boys come out here and think women are made for the taking, but you just can't come to grown women and take. So the people that you could take to, the objects, are usually the younger ones. So it's very perverted. We don't really think about these things. We don't realize that when a boy gets caught dealing with an underage girl, they blame the girl and say, oh, well, she's fast. And they don't consider, well, hey, he's slow, taking advantage of the world, taking whatever they want and not replenishing it. That's what the devil does. And yet man doesn't recognize that because they're still thinking that they're their mama's little boy. But when you look at your reflection, you're a grown damn man. A whole mustache and beard, and you stink. So you have to recognize that either you're going to be a son or you're going to be a husband. But you can't be a mama's son husband. You don't hear a lot of women telling boys, marry that girl. You've been dating her for several years. When are you going to propose? Her clock is ticking. No, women don't prefer that. They want their sons to take their time because the more time they take, the more time mama gets to have with them. And she's not doing any of the personal work to deal with that sorrow when her son leaves, to have a dog, something to keep her busy and allow her son to create his own life. It becomes toxic, and now the dating pool is diluted. My name is Christina. Hit the thumbs up, and we'll have more content like this in the next one.